What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Bobby Fi here. Sheets is live final day, so go Sheets. First of all, he's at the live final in Scottsdale. Hopefully he can bring it home for TrueDFS. It'd be lovely to see a big win for him there. Really hoping it works out, especially with everything that he's been going through lately. But in general, just a fun thing. I'm happy for him to go to the basketball live final, and I'm hoping he can take down something big. All right, we'll get into this slate. I'm not sure I'm going to be playing tonight. I've got some family things that I've got to take care of. So as I always say with NBA, if you can't late swap, you just ignore it. It's just there's no way I'm playing a non-late swap slate, and I mean a late swap slate where I can't late swap. So for me personally, I may not be there. I do want to remind everybody our prices are probably going to be going up in the next couple weeks with MLB starting and everything. We've got we partnered with PayDirt as well as SaberSim, and I suggest you guys check out. We have some incredible tools out there, and we're a fraction more than SaberSim, and we've got all of Goldie and Cheats' projections, all the PayDirt projections, tools, etc. All of my content, show my exact exposures every day. Brandon Cruz for NASCAR, Adam Perry for NHL. We've got a nice team that I think is doing really well, and hopefully you guys will have a chance to take a look at it. With that said, let's jump into the slate. We're gonna go game by game. I'll start on DraftKings, and then I'll jump over and just talk about the 3 games I didn't talk about on FanDuel. Right off the bat, look, we've seen this Wendell Carter thing popping up quite a bit, and I'm not sure where I stand with it myself. He really has had one game that he's really gotten there, and mostly it's been pretty much dud season for him, but it is a great matchup. I'm very open to it, but again, there's games later, and it's this buys you an hour if you can skip whatever from this game. It's going to be hard to totally ignore Paolo and Franz. I think they're both very strong plays. So I'd be looking at this more as a game for spend ups rather than trying to find value, because I do think that there's going to be more value later in the day, just as there always seems to be. But if everything stood now, I do think I'd be getting to some Carter, probably a little less than the field. I'd probably be near the field on Franz and Paolo. Those would be the most interesting plays to me. On the Washington side, we've got Vucevic with his projection. Now, it really depends on who plays for Washington. And whether Vucevic, I don't think they'd start him again because they were down a couple bodies the other night, and he did start alongside Sarr. I do think the minutes, though, starting to seem pretty much around 20 to 24 is where he seems to keep ending up. And I think he's worth playing at that minutes. But again, better value, other centers, lots of things to consider. One play that does interest me that no one seems to be on today, I think Sarr as a spend in the mid-range. I mean, he's been terrific lately. His usage rate over his last 4 games has been, I believe it's 34%. That's huge, and I do think that Sarr at 6,700 even in a bad matchup is at least a guy to consider as a large field tournament dart. But that's really the only piece I'd be getting to, and I'd like to try to be off this game more just because of the later games and the news that we'll find. We have LaMelo and Mark Williams doubtful for Charlotte. The projections haven't updated quite yet, so we're gonna have to wait on that. But with Mark Williams, we know what's probably going to happen, right? With Charlotte, it's probably going to be the Damian Baugh, but he's 5K now. I still think he's going to end up looking like a pretty good value. Put up 30 in the last game, at least a reasonable value. So Damian Baugh, Daquan Jeffries, who's also been raised up to 4,700. Those plays are going to look a lot better once these projections average out a little bit. And another one is that as a spend up is Miles Bridges. So I have some interest in this game for sure, but I think that Bridges may end up being more interesting than some of the value pieces. We'll see. I'm curious to see where everything resets when we officially take the projection off of Mark Williams and LaMelo. But I do think it's an interesting game to take a shot at. You know what I mean? We have so much value out there potentially for this Charlotte team, but it's not quite the value that it's been just because of the pricing. I'm guessing Josh Green will look pretty good on bigger slates. I try to avoid those types of plays. Josh Green played 21 minutes the other night at 6 fantasy points. Played at 19 that game before at 7 fantasy points. He is not a good fantasy point per minute guy, but you never know. You might get the outlier game. I just don't think it's worth it. So I'm going to have to reconsider Charlotte a little bit later when I go live. OKC, We have Cason Wallace still questionable, and we have Shea back. We still have Jalen Williams out. We have Lou Dort out. So I thought there'd be a little bit more value. I actually think this Hartenstein play is a really good one. So I would be on this Hartenstein. I would probably be wanting to get to one of Hartenstein or Chet here. I think they're both in really good spots. And again, there's other guys out, opens it up for them. The problem is, can Charlotte keep it close with this OKC team? I doubt it. That probably caps the upside to some extent on Chet and Hartenstein, but the matchup itself is just good enough to where I would want to take some stabs. And obviously, we're going to have to see on Cason Wallace. We'll find that out a little bit later today. New Orleans in Minnesota. New Orleans is out. Trey Murphy out. I mean, basically, there's all these guys. But the main ones are Trey Murphy and Zion for the recent stuff, because I think that Hawkins and Alvarado are very hard to ignore, as is Kelly Olynyk. This is probably where you're getting a lot of your plays from. Another game that I don't expect to stay is particularly close. I did win the bet on the New Orleans game the other night where they won in Minnesota. But that was with Zion, a very different story. And Zion looked unbelievable in that game. I see all the ownership on McCollum. I get it. I don't tend to play McCollum as much as others do, so I'm probably not going to be quite as high on that. But he certainly does have a ceiling. Like my guess is I'd end up with about half the field on McCollum. But obviously, you need starting lineups. But I think Hawkins would be my number one, Alvarado number two, Olynyk number three, and then I think I would probably go. I think Bruce Brown is kind of interesting for value, but I think Ice McCollum would be number four if I had to weigh it. Large field to take a shot with Jeremiah Robinson Earl, that's totally fine by me. But do worry about this game staying close. Mike Conley, so cheap. 3,600 is starting to feel like a little cheapish. He's been over 20 in 6 out of his last 7. I think this is a better play than it's being graded out as. I think there's enough upside here with not even that he has to do that much, but 25, is that good enough at 3,600? At the moment on this slate, I would say yes. Now, by the end of the slate, maybe not. Maybe we have to have a different conversation, but I'm interested a little bit in Conley at 3,600. It's just too cheap. I love the matchup for Edwards and Reed, but probably going to get off of it myself, just as, again, I'm a little worried about this game staying close. It's a big slate. Definitely fine with either of them, but it's a big slate. I don't know that I need to do it. I actually think Naz Reid's kind of an interesting tournament dart, but it's probably not going to be where I want to spend my money tonight. I'm still thinking about it, but as of right now, Conley is my highest level of interest, which I did not expect to be saying this season. 3,600 is 3,600 though, so it's a little hard to avoid that. Houston and Miami. We should have a men back. This is a reasonable real life game. Absolutely no interest in it from a DFS perspective for me. I don't see anything that I could talk myself into. Now, you want to talk yourself into an outlier game from any of the studs, that's fine. I personally don't have a lot of interest here and probably just off of Houston. On the Miami side, similar. The highest level of interest I have would be Bam and Hero. I have Bam rated a little bit ahead of Hero here, but again, nobody who I feel like is anything that's a must play or anything like that. But I do think Bam and Hero, I might try to get a little bit over the field, assuming I am able to play later today. All right, we've got the Philly nonsense a little bit again. Justin Edwards looking good early. He always looks good early, and then by the end of the slate, no one plays him. He was like 0.5% owned the other night, and he put up I think he had a pretty good game. I think he had somewhere around 30. I know it was kind of blowout, but that's what Philly games are going to be right now. Philly is tanking, trying to keep their pick. And as of right now, I think that Justin Edwards and Lonnie Walker are both firmly in play. Walker probably wouldn't start here just with the way that the way they're doing things right now. I do have to mention just the guy who always looks terrible from a projection thing and then always just seems to get there. Quentin Grimes, again, projected at 38 fantasy points. And I'm just going to point out, here's Quentin Grimes' games in these situations. 43, 76, 43, 46, 59, 41. Why is he projected below in a good matchup below 40? I don't know. So that's one, if I'm playing today, I'm immediately making that at least 42. Not this 38 number is just kind of a joke to me. Now you could tell me that he ends up with 38 tonight. That's possible. But for that to be his median when all we've seen with him in this role is 51 on average, I know there's a 76 in there to help boost that up, but that counts. And I don't know why we would be so low on Quentin Grimes. So I would go out of my way to play a low owned Quentin Grimes, who's probably going to be higher owned than you think he is, depending on what kind of value opens up later today. It feels weird. I know we have to. I tell everybody every day, we have to get over the people we think these guys are. Quentin Grimes' usage rate in his in his games in this role, 32, 32, 42, 35, 37, 37. That's massive. And it's San Antonio. So I actually think Quentin Grimes is totally in play as a I think he's like a very legitimate play tonight. All right, San Antonio. Sohan is this is a projection that I thought was a little bit higher than I thought it was going to be. I think it's probably a little bit too ambitious. Why is it 35? Am I like completely missing something? There's nothing really new. 35 is kind of a joke. I'm see where Goldie has him. He has him at 33. I think even if you have him at 30, he's still going to look like a good play. But that's where I would probably keep him, somewhere in that 30-ish range as a median. As a median to be 35, it just why? He played 37 minutes against the Knicks the other night, put up 23. He hasn't been at 35. He's been at 35 one time in the last, I don't know, 50 games. Just seems very ambitious. I got to give a shout out to Mamu, who had one of the great heat check games of the year. Mamu in his last game, he played 19 minutes. He had 34 real life points, not fantasy, 55 fantasy points. He was 13 of 14 from the floor and 7 for 7 from three. That's an absurd game. I'm not going to try and catch the the repeat performance of that. That's just wild that he had that. I mean, that's one of the most efficient games you'll ever see. I think Keldon Johnson and to some extent, I don't love the Chris Paul play. He's maybe because he's burned me a few times lately. He did have a good game the other night against the Knicks, but overall, I don't love it. I'm more on the Keldon Johnson side of this, so definitely feel like Keldon Johnson would be the one I more desire than Chris Paul. If I ended up with some Paul, I would probably be less than the field. And then Castle and Vassell are both interesting. Probably would end up near the field on them as well. Hopefully Philly can keep that game close, and maybe they can. It's San Antonio, and teams are all in tank mode, so it's totally possible. Detroit and Dallas. Okay, kind of like everything here. I think this projection is too high on Asar Thompson, but I do like Asar as a contrarian play. I don't think I like him as much as Chalk. We're not seeing the same minutes out of him. I'm totally fine with Harris, Beasley, but the main one I want to get to is Cunningham here. And for whatever reason, what am I missing that has Duren? Oh, Duren, sorry. Duren Cunningham would be my highest level of interest here. And you hope Dallas can keep it close with what's left of their roster. But I really like Cunningham as a spend up today. He'd be one of my favorites. He's just been absolutely awesome. And it's Dallas. There's no real protection of any kind. And I think that Cunningham could have a huge night tonight. And I should say another huge night. The thing you worry about with him is you see the games where he plays in the under 30 minutes. You just don't get there because it's really hard. He doesn't get his fourth quarter run. So you're just hoping for that fourth quarter run. His last game's over 30 minutes, 66, 64, 54. Then he had a couple of duds in there, but then 63 a couple games before that. So I think there's some serious upside here for Cunningham. On the other side, so it looks like they're actually going to play more than 8 guys. It looks like 10 as of right now, which sort of takes away some interest. Now, I am interested in a low-owned PJ Washington. I think that you could bump his projection up a little bit. I know he let us down the other night, but I mean, other guys were getting there. It didn't really go through them. And I think that PJ Washington is a very interesting tournament play that I don't expect people to be on. So would be happy getting to some PJ Washington. I'm trying to think of what else. You could always take shots with Hardy. Certainly not if he's on a minutes limit on this kind of a slate at 4,400. But yeah, not with less, not with as many players they have. And I think Dinwiddie is maybe being a little bit unfairly unprojected. But I guess if we're expecting Brandon Williams to be back, we're going to sort of expect that it runs through him instead of with Dinwiddie. Boston and Utah. Look, so Boston, we don't really have like the same level of guys out. We have just Jalen right now, and we don't even have anybody else questionable. I'm kind of surprised. This seems like a game where you would rest somebody else just because, you're at altitude. You should be able to handle this team with somebody else down. But obviously, with no Jaylen Brown, the other Tatum, the other one the ones that always stand out, Tatum, Derek White, Kristaps, all of them very interesting to me tonight. Highest level of interest, probably Derek White. Second, probably Tatum. Third, probably Holiday. Fourth, probably Pritchard. Fourth, Porzingis. Fifth, Pritchard. Yeah, and I think that being overweight Boston is probably a pretty good idea. Also, the last game, you can always adjust with your late swaps along the way. Utah, as of right now, really not getting to anything, which is very fine by me because they play a ton of guys. They're not playing for anything, and not all that excited about Utah myself. So that's sort of it. So just to go through some of the ones that I like the most, I do like the Boston side of things. I like Detroit, especially, Duran and Cunningham. I think that Philly, as I mentioned, you're going to get some pieces of value with Lonnie Walker, Justin Edwards. San Antonio, interested mostly in Keldon Johnson, but definitely have some interest in the other ones as well. It's kind of a funky slate. Not a lot of what is the real close game that is there a game we can think about stacking here? Oddly, that might be like the first game I don't even know about Washington side of it. Actually, I don't really see a lot of great stacking games, but again, I do like one of the two from Orlando, whether it be Paolo or Franz. And I just have a feeling there's going to be more value we haven't even thought of that opens up throughout the day. So I'd rather not use the early value if I can and buy myself that extra hour. But if you have to, totally fine to do it. All right, we're going to move on to FanDuel real quick and just talk about the three games that aren't. I actually think it's a much better slate on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings. Let me just go to my build. I haven't entered any lineups. I'm probably not going to be able to tonight, just the way that it goes. They added the 3:10 p.m. and 2:10 p.m. and the 10:30 Eastern game. Cleveland and Phoenix. Cleveland fully healthy, kind of needs to get back on track. There's nobody who stands out. I probably would have double-digit ownership on both Mitchell and Mobley tonight. Maybe just 10%, just right around 10%. On the Phoenix side, we do see Gillespie. He's been, he started and he actually played pretty well in the last game, put up 22. I don't think we need to do that. I think there's other plays out there, but he has 3,900 on FanDuel. That's basically the minimum. I don't mind it. I like the Nick Richards idea. Nick Richards has finally picked it up a little bit. He finally had the big game the other night, 37 against Chicago. Not a great matchup, but you imagine that the minutes will be there. So I kind of like Nick Richards at 5%. He's another one I'd probably get to double digits of. And then look, we still have no Beal. I think we could definitely this projection feels low to me on both Booker and Durant. As I mentioned, one of these guys seems to get there most of the time. Booker put a 57 the other night against Chicago. Again, Cleveland's a good team, but they do play fast. So I would expect Booker and Durant, those would be ones that I would bump this projection up a healthy amount, at least to somewhere in this range. And for what it's worth, I do like Booker. I like them both similarly actually tonight, but I like Booker probably a little bit better. And I just think at no ownership, that's definitely a good way to try and get different, is to try to make sure to get some Booker and Durant in your lineups on FanDuel. For Denver, we've got we've got Jokic already out. We've got Strother already out. We've got Murray questionable. Westbrook's going to be one of the best plays in the slate. I don't know how to say lock button with not knowing about Murray, but pretty close. I probably would have 75% of them if the slate started right now. I probably would have 50+% of Aaron Gordon. I probably would have 40+% of Christian Braun. And I probably would have 20% or so of Jamal Murray. And I probably would have around 20% of Michael Porter. So very interested in the Denver side on FanDuel. This would be my priority spot to attack. On the other side, I'm starting to really love just Denny Avdi as a real life player. And he's a little more expensive over here. We saw, again, one of the monster games from him the other night. He had 69 fantasy points. He's put up 50, 68, and 69 in 3 out of his last 5. There's going to be some range of outcomes with a guy like him, but I definitely think we should be above this. I probably would be double the ownership on him. Let's say somewhere around 20%. I do like Klingon. And Scoot is also interesting to me tonight. So and then on FanDuel, I like the bump from Kamara. You know, Denver can turn it over with Westbrook and all that. Kamara could you know, he's a terrific defender, can force some turnovers. So I like the idea of getting to nice little, maybe a mini game stack of this Denver Portland game. Memphis and LA. Boy, Memphis, this is like the lowest total I've seen all year for Memphis. It might be the lowest total. They play pretty fast, and it's rare to see them like this. Am I missing something? Oh, do we have? So I was looking earlier, and I had Scottie Pippen Jr. is in. Oh, there he is. Okay, then I scrolled down, I guess. Scottie Pippen Jr. 6K, probably a little bit more than we'd want to spend up for him off the bench. He's still 46 on. He's been good enough for it. I wouldn't cross him off. If I probably would end up near the field on him at and maybe even a little bit above, at least for my early projections, just because I would, you know, it is the last game of the night. You have plenty of places you can go to along the way if you don't feel comfortable with the 6K for him. But I actually think it's a pretty fair price. And outside of him, it would only be the taking shots on Aldama, large field, Desmond Bain, large field, and Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson, large field probably, but they're mostly just long shots outside of the Pippen play. On the Clippers side, great matchup for them. I'm a little surprised they're not projecting a little better, maybe because Norman Powell's working his way back in. But I think you could make a really good case for all of Zubac, Harden, and Kawhi. Preferred would probably be, I don't know, it's pretty close between Harden and Kawhi for me. Kawhi's really, he's been playing the minutes. He's been getting there every game. I think I would just go with Kawhi. And then I also like Zubac here. So Zubac and Kawhi, I think, are both super interesting plays, with Harden being next. So I would probably be overweight on all these guys. So I definitely am a fan of your style on FanDuel. I think should be delay until you find information. But also, even if you do, I think this Durant Booker is getting way too low ownership, way too low projections. I also think that this Denver Portland game feels stackable to me. And you know, I mentioned the Clipper side of this Memphis game, huge pace up spot for the Clippers. So I think a lot of good spots you could try to target tonight. So that's sort of my first look of the slate. I will be with you guys later to go over live before lock. I know people are getting tired, but we do have MLB coming back soon, and hopefully we can get after it. Good luck to everybody tonight. Looking forward to MLB starting on Thursday, or it's already started. My Dodgers are already 2-0, and but we'll get the real season started on Thursday. So looking forward to that. Anyway, good luck to all you guys. Appreciate y'all. Give us a like on your way out, and we'll see you guys at the top of the